How do security leaders effectively create trust amongst their peers, people that might be on the board or C-level executives? As technology is introduced to the organization, how do they build that trust to ensure that those leaders understand the important risks and threats that that technology introduces to the organization?
So it annoys everybody, but the best way to create trust is to be trustworthy. Now, it's way easier not to be trustworthy and pretend, but it's better to be trustworthy. So if you're in an organization and you have to navigate tech decisions, security, be straightforward, right? Be honest, have data, have good arguments, be trustworthy. And that's going to get you further than anything else. We see this when we're outsourcing services to various managed service everything, and they have lousy security, and now our data is stolen. Again, they're not being trustworthy. This is hard, but as a CIO, as a CISO, digging through that, making sure your vendors are trustworthy and not just pretending to be, is critical. I get that that's hard, but we really have no choice.
So you said something a moment ago that really resonated, which was about the increasing usage of services and cloud services specifically. That basically means that you're taking functions that you were doing internally, usually with staff that had your interest, your organization's interest, like foremost.
Computing is becoming infrastructure, like a utility, and we always outsource that. And this has changed over the decades. When I started, we all had modem banks, and now that's ridiculous. And then we all had email servers in our networks, and now that's ridiculous. And everything is pushing into the cloud, yes, but really as an outsourced infrastructure service. Now, there are two ways that works in our society. One, regulated monopolies. So the water you get, the power. These are private companies, but very heavily regulated because of natural monopolies. Mm-hmm. The other way we try to get this to work is through the market and competition. So we got that some places, the monopolization in tech I think is really bad here, but sort of leave that aside. You're going to have a bunch of companies competing to be your infrastructure in various ways. Some large, some small, some specialized, some generalized, and picking them is going to be a process of figuring out who to trust. Like if you don't trust the lawyers that prepare your taxes, you can be fined, you can go to jail. That's very serious outsourcing of trust. If you don't trust the company managing and makes up your passwords, right? You get hacked and you can be fined and maybe go to jail. So these are hard, and you have to figure out who you can trust, what the contracts are like, what the insurance is like. Insurance is kind of a backstop to trust here. Mm-hmm. Bunch of ways that we know how to do this in society that's really moving into IT right now. It's becoming like everything else, no different. And you remember that as an organization, you trust in some very intimate ways. As a person, you trust your doctor. You're going to trust a hospital. You're going to trust, I mentioned your tax provider, your accountant. All of these people and organizations that have very intimate knowledge into your affairs and giving you advice that affects life and property.
If you're the CISO or you're the CIO, what are some of the things that you would use to determine which organizations you'd want to work with?
Certainly you're going to look at the organization, what your adjudication procedures are. You can also look at what the cost is if you get it wrong. But in the end, you're making a leap of faith.
Even if you're not the one choosing the service provider, even if you are the service provider yourself, that reputation is really key to that trust decision.
Now, a lot of trust is based on reputation. You can't see inside someone's heart or head, and it's really about what their past behavior is and how you might imagine that going forward. I think that's true when we trust a friend. That's true when we trust a service like Uber or eBay. And that's true when we trust an organization we hire to do our taxes or perform legal services. It's going to be their reputation. It's going to be how they behaved in the past, and then how you might imagine that going forward.